Hey, I'm Canadian rocker Tommy Gunn, and you got more Joe Tilley sports coming up.
Our special guest this week, Ken Crosina. It's been an absolutely astounding, unbelievable, incredible couple of weeks for Canadian tennis. Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show coming up. Welcome to the program. Our special guest today hails from Toronto. He played tennis at Florida State University. He was a former finalist at the national championships, was ranked top 5 in Canada, was a top ranked doubles player. He is former director of the Campus Tennis Center, MC for the Rogers Cup, tennis analyst for TSN, and he is currently the director of tennis at the Mayfair Clubs. Ladies and gentlemen, Ken Crosina. Welcome to the program, Ken. Long time no see, my friend. We go way back to the days at the Oshawa Racket Club, and my wife Penny Clare used to teach aerobics there. Did you ever take some of her high-impact aerobic classes, Ken?
Unfortunately, I have to tell the truth and say that yes, I have. And she may tell you that I was not so coordinated looking into a mirror and trying to follow the step classes that were the rage, all the rage back then. The Reebok step, I think it was. I wasn't very good at it, but I
That's
tried.
right.
I tried my best, so it was good.
Yeah. The good old days, my friend. It's good. We had lots of great people working there, if I recall. Good staff and a lot of fun back then.
Yeah, it was a great club. It was kind of a little hidden gem in the south part of Oshawa. For tennis, there was 5 outdoor courts and 4 indoor courts, all kinds of squash courts and racquetball courts. Racquetball was big back then. We had the fitness studios and weight training and all that good stuff. But the most important part back then was it was a good social club. Everybody liked to kind of hang around and socialize and get caught up on what was going on. And Oshawa's a little different town now. No more big GM plant there. They're trying to bring it back, but it's more of a college town now with the University of Ontario there and Durham College. So it's changed a little bit, but I'm still ready to try the Reebok step. If you can find somebody up for teaching a class, I'm ready to give it a whirl.
I'll let Penny Clare know. I don't think she's more into yoga and qigong these days, as am I. It's a little less high intensity. It's good though. The body likes that better, I think, right at this stage in my life. So anyway, let's talk about we talked about an incredible couple of weeks in Canadian tennis. Now, I mean, Canadian tennis is, we've had some good years. We had Carling Bassett, we had Helen Kellacy, then Jeannie Bouchard, Milos Raonic come along. We had Sebastian Leroux back in the day, Greg Rudzetsky, yourself. Daniel Nestor has done well on the doubles side, but never have we seen the kind of success that we've had over the last couple of years. And I know that Leila Fernandez said it's a maple syrup, but I think maybe it's a maple syrup, but has a little bit more than that, I think, is involved here.
Absolutely. And it's funny, when I was watching your show a few weeks back and I saw the intro, I saw the tennis rackets in the intro, and it really made me feel good because, for a guy that's played this game for 51 years in Ontario and across Canada, and I went to school down in Florida, tennis has always kind of been on the back burner, and people never really watched it, and people didn't really play it. And I can remember in high school, I got called names because I was a tennis player and not a football player or not a soccer player or a track star, although I was fairly quick, but stopped doing track in high school. And now tennis is huge, and it's front page news. It's, first thing you're talking about on sports talk shows or on television sports shows. They're coming with tennis right off the bat, and a lot of that has to do with the growth of tennis in the game and in the world. But here in Canada, it certainly has to do with how well Canadians have done on tour. And a great question is, why is that happening? A little bit is happening because of the Daniel Nestor, who you mentioned, and Grant Connell. They were both young Canadians that went on to be number 1 in the world in doubles. So we as Canadians started to believe that we could be great players as well. So that kind of helped. And then Milos Raonic and Jeannie Bouchard and Vasek Pospisil. They really helped kind of bring things along, but still it was almost intermittent. You know, Milos would have a couple of good tournaments and have a good run, but then if he didn't do well in the tournament, then the media and the you know, tennis spotlight would kind of fade because the Canadian had fallen off in the tournament in the earlier rounds. But now, wow, we've got Felix and Dennis and Bianca and Layla, and Rebecca Marino is back and doing very well. And we still have Milos, and Jeannie is nursing an injury. She'll be back soon. Vasek still ranked in the top 70 in the world. So we've got those names that you just see, and they're becoming everyday names. They're showing up on pages that aren't just sports anymore. So that's, for me, as a young Canadian that's been in the game forever, I love that. I love to see that.
Well, you know, it has been a kind of gradual growth, but it just seems like in the last couple of years we've really been able to step up to that next level. I know we did have, you know, you mentioned Connell. I forgot about him as well, but him and Nasser, how they did when they won Grand Slams, no small feat. But this is the first time that our singles players have reached that zenith, right? And it started with, you know, Bianca, obviously in 2019. She was the first Canadian to capture that, you know, the gold medal at a major. What do you think was the difference between what we saw from Bianca to what we'd seen before? Like, you know, the close but not quite there.
Yeah, it's a great question. And, you know, I do want to mention Grant Connell because I have a winning record against him. So maybe that's why I wanted to throw his name in there, Joe. So I always like to remind people that he was #1 in the world, because at the time I was #1 in the country, and he went on to be #1 in the world, and I went on to be #3 in my own house. So, you know, we were close. We were close for a while, and then he took it away. Back in 2007, Tennis Canada developed training centers, national training centers, one in Toronto, one in Montreal. The one in Montreal was a little bit more kind of fine-tuned with better coaching system in place, better fitness system in place. And what they started to do was they started to grab the best players from each program around the country, and they sent those players to Montreal, where the kids would live together, the kids would train together, the kids would do schooling together, fitness together. You know, they were really eating and breathing tennis together, and it made a huge difference. Bianca was part of that program. Felix was part of that program. Layla at different times was part of the program. And what it did for the kids in the program was it just gave them a better sense of belonging, a better sense of competition. Because typically, and I'll use Mayfair as an example, we'll have a high performance program that has 24 to 32 kids in it, but there might be 3 or 4 really elite players that are in that program, high level ranked national athletes. So what Tennis Canada did was they put all these high level ranked athletes that were interested in joining the National Training Center all in one place. And you know what that does? You know, you see it in hockey, right? The better players you can put on a hockey team, the better all those players get. We're seeing it right now with the Toronto Blue Jays. As each Toronto Blue Jay starts doing better things, the other guys, it kind of spurs them on to do great things as well. And it's made a huge difference to the development of tennis in this country. And lucky for us, the fans, we get to see it now on the main stage of the WTA and ATP tours.
It's like the Homer jacket. You need a Homer jacket for tennis. But you're seeing it at the grassroots level. What has happened? What have you noticed happening over the last couple of years? Is registration in tennis up? Is the competition level up? Tell us what's happening.
Well, a couple things are happening. Number one, when Milo started to really do well and Jeannie started to really do well, they both reached the semifinals of Wimbledon back in 2014. We saw tennis start to have a rebirth or a resurgence, so to speak. More people wanted to sign their kids up. More people wanted to kind of come back to the game that had played it in high school. And then they were like, oh, I'm going to give this a try. I'll go back to tennis. So we really saw an influx of more people playing the game. And as a coach and as a person, a lover of the sport of tennis, what I started to see was you would ask young players, you know, who's your favorite player? And instead of it being Andy Roddick or Serena Williams or Roger Federer or whoever it might be, young Canadians started saying Jeannie Bouchard and Milos Raonic. And for me, it was just like, wow, I never thought I'd see that happen. So we saw that. And then what happened was when Bianca had her great finish by winning the championship at the U.S. Open, we really saw people jump into the sport like we've never seen before, and representation, registration for young people went up. I can talk at Mayfair clubs. It went up 36%, almost immediately. It was like, here's your trophy, Bianca, and everybody ran out to tennis clubs to sign up for tennis. It was like nothing that we'd ever seen. And we're going to see more of that now with Dennis and Felix and Layla, getting to the finals at such a young age, and the poise that she has. That can only help the sport of tennis grow in this country.
Well, and what's amazing to me is we're competing, not only competing, but dominating. And there was I believe, four Canadians in the final 16 this year. Maybe is that what it was? Four Canadians in the final 16.
Yes.
There were zero and zero Americans in the final 8 on either side. And now we're a country where, which just kind of feels good sometimes. I can't have to admit, but we're a country that, we can't just go out and play tennis for a lot of the year. And there's parts of this country where, for a great number of months, we're unable to go outside and knock the ball around. So we're at a bit of a disadvantage in some ways that way. But, we have now become a tennis powerhouse, which is phenomenal. And could you have envisioned that 15 years ago?
Well, I don't know if your camera will pick it up, but right here I've got a few stitches. My next door neighbor growing up was Brian Marchment. True story. And Brian and I played a lot of ball hockey together. We had a lot of tussles together, and I lost a lot of fights to Brian Marchment, as you've seen over the years from his NHL career. So for me as a young Canadian playing tennis at a young age, I was entrenched in the Marchment family of hockey and fisticuffs, so to speak. So I never saw this coming. I really didn't see it coming, and it's now here to stay, and it's mainstream, and it's going to be here for a long time. I mean, during the matches at the U.S. Open in 2019 and again this year in 2021, I've heard from so many people, so many tennis players and friends of mine in tennis from the U.S. and from Canada, but so many Canadian people, young Canadian people that I'd gone to school with, young Canadian people that are much younger than me, just texting me saying, can Layla do this? Can Bianca fight this off? How well is Dennis? Who's better, Dennis or Felix? We never heard that. I mean, John McEnroe on ESPN telecast said, hey, Canada, you're supposed to be good at hockey. Stick to hockey and get away from tennis. You're embarrassing us Americans down here. And he's right. Canada, we've been known as the cold weather sports country. We've had our skiers, we've had our hockey players. We've never had this much depth and this much success in tennis. And, we're getting calls. I'm getting calls, I would say weekly, but maybe it's better to say maybe every couple weeks, from people in the States looking to come to Canada to train. I mean, I had Carling Bassett on a show that I did this past weekend, and Carling and I used to go down to Nick Bollettieri's in Sarasota as youngsters to train for tennis. And now we have Americans calling us in Canada saying, hey, what are you guys doing up there? Could I send my son or daughter up for a couple of weeks to train in one of your academies? We think it'll make a big difference. Who coached such and such? Who coached Milos? Oh, it was Casey Curtis at a young age. Where's Casey Curtis coaching? We'd like our son and daughter to come up and learn how to serve like Milos served. I mean, that's never happened before. Maybe for hockey, but never for tennis. So it's nice to see for sure.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, who would have saw that coming? It just seemed to come out of nowhere, but it has been a slow and steady progression. And it's let's talk about what we've seen. I mean, Bianca, okay, before she won the U.S. Open, she won the Rogers Cup. Just before that. Do you think maybe that victory, the first Canadian, I think it was in 55 years or something like that, to win the basically what boils down to the Canadian Open? Do you think maybe that little boost she got at the Rogers Cup was that little? She needed to push her over the edge at Flushing Meadows?
I think so, because to be able to do so well in Toronto in front of a home crowd that supports you, and there's that pressure. I think the Toronto Maple Leafs can tell us a little bit about playing at home and the pressure that maybe they feel. So, Bianca certainly felt that pressure playing there. But a quick story for you, Joe. She did a commercial here at Mayfair West, I want to say maybe 2 months before, which was the Rogers Cup. We can call it the Canadian Open because the sponsors have changed and it's easier to follow. She did a commercial here, and I kind of hung out with her a little bit that day. She was, she'd already won at Indian Wells. She'd already had some success. Her ranking was moving up. There was a lot of talk about her. And at the end of the day, when she did her commercial, I said to her, I said, hey, just so you know, I'm the master of ceremonies. I do all the in-stadium announcing for the Canadian Open. I said, so I'll see you there. And if you're on center court, if you're playing a match on center court, I'll be there and I'll give you, a little couple decibels louder with my voice to kind of, get the crowd to cheer you on a little bit. And she said, oh, I'll see you at the finals there. I'll be there in the final day. And she kind of walked away. And I remember thinking to myself, what other Canadian player has ever said, yeah, I'll be there. I'll be in the finals. I'll see you in the finals. And I thought to myself, I would think it was cocky. I would think it's this or that. Like, I wasn't sure what to think of it. And then I thought, you know what? We're developing a little bit of American, a little bit of self-belief. And I was so impressed to see her, say that and see her do that. So then when she was there on the final Sunday, I was just so impressed by her poise. And when, unfortunately, Serena in that match in 2019 had to default due to a back injury, I went right over, and I'll tweet the picture out later. I went right over and I shook Bianca's hand while she was sitting in the chair, and I gave her a big smile, and I said, you told me you were going to see me today and you were going to win the Canadian Open. And she said, I remember that. And I remember thinking, there's no way she's winning the Canadian Open. It's just, there's too much pressure. But she handled it, and she handled it well. And then you're right. That gave her that, I think that match gave her that poise to play the finals, firstly to get to the finals, but then to play the finals of the U.S. Open against Serena Williams in a very pro-Serena, pro-American crowd. They wanted to see Serena win another slam. They wanted to see Serena break Margaret Court's record. And, Bianca has said afterwards that the noise was deafening, and at times she just wanted to cover her ears so that she couldn't hear the chants and how loud that crowd was. But I don't know how she did it. She found a way to pull that match off, and that really put Canada on the map and our tennis on the map, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, and you know what? My daughter actually wrote a book called Drawing Dreams, and it's all about manifesting through art and drawing what you want to manifest in your life. And I remember Bianca saying that when she was 12 or 13 years old, she drew a picture of herself with a winner's check, U.S. Open champion, and here we are, like a few years later, she was actually holding that trophy and the winner's check. I'm assuming, and then pretty cool thing.
Oh yeah, I remember that story. You're 100% right. And I can remember as a young player trying to work on my signature because my name Crosina is a little tricky, and trying to work on my signature so that I could do it, and then trying to work on my signature on tennis balls, and my family getting upset at the cost of tennis balls and me trying to sign them. I've signed probably 5 signatures in my lifetime, and 4 of them were once I became the master of ceremonies at the Canadian Open. One of them I signed as a player, and it was from a young little ball girl out in Vancouver when I was like 17 or 18 years old. I never signed anything after that. So that everybody has their dreams, right? And everybody has their their path that they want to take to fulfill those dreams. And the beauty that we have now with Bianca doing so well, and Felix and Dennis and Layla, is that Canadians can look at that and see that the dream's attainable, number one. And number two, they can kind of lean on those people. Layla can pick up the phone and call Jeannie if she wants and say, how did you handle your success and all the stardom that came along with it? Or she can call Milos and have those conversations. Or even Daniel Nestor, he's around and he's willing to help out, even though his stardom was a little different because he was a doubles player and not a singles player. It's just going to give our young Canadian players some more comfort in being able to talk to another Canadian about how they handled it. For those people that might be watching, that watched Layla's speech and talking about New York and their resiliency,
Mm-hmm.
she's already well
Mm-hmm.
beyond her years and how she handles herself, but she's still going to need to lean on people to ask questions, and we've got those young Canadians now just ahead of her, a little bit older than her, that she can talk to and get some guidance, and that'll be a big thing going forward.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit about Layla because what a special player she is. What a special person she is. We saw that in that address she gave to the crowd at Flushing. So she comes into that event ranked 73rd in the world, and she knocks off, first of all, Naomi Osaka, the number 3 in the world, the defending champion. in the third round. Then around the 16, she knocks off number 16, Angelique Kerber, who is the 2016 champ, winner of 17 of 19 matchups heading into that one. Then in the quarters, number 5, Alina Svitolina, who is on a 9-match win streak. Then in the semifinals, number 2, Aryna Sabalenka, who is leading the WTA in wins this year. And every one of those matches went the distance, 3 sets. And, you got to think that in that final, she gave it all she could, right? But Emma Raducanu, who was born in Toronto, by the way, some irony there, ranked 150th in the world coming into this one, didn't drop a set the whole tournament, but she was a little fresher. She had a much easier draw than Layla did, but it was a lot of fun. The whole event is set up so nicely, and it was a great deal of fun, a great learning experience for Layla. And how do you see it? Do you think it's a case of her maybe just running out of gas a little bit?
Yeah, it's funny, they talked about that. Pam Shriver and Chrissy Everett were talking about that. And I don't think she so much ran out of gas. I think it was more emotional than physical. The emotional strain of beating Osaka, beating Kerber, beating Svitolina, beating Sabalenka. And in each one of those matches, there was those hiccups. And if you want to compare it to hockey, it's kind of like leading a hockey game late 3-2 and the other team pulls their goalie and they score and it's 3-all and now you're kind of heading to overtime. It's kind of like, we shouldn't be here. And each one of those matches, she had those hiccups where she would be up a break, a serve, and then she'd have her serve broken, or she'd be down a set and a break and she'd find a way to break back. And there was just so much stress and pressure in each match, and that I feel that got the better of her more than the fitness side of things, because eventually the body just can't handle it. It kind of gives up. And, down the road, I think she'll get better at understanding that pressure and being able to cope with that pressure and that stress of each match, as the great Novak Djokovic seems to have done. Although even him in the men's final, he seemed to struggle with it. The beauty about Layla is she comes from a good spot. Her family is very grounded, very good. If you can watch some of the highlights from the tennis, it's late in the match when she's trying to battle back and hold serve or break serve in the 5-3, 5-4 range in the second set. And her sister stands up in the box and they're cheering and yelling, and her sister goes, "Smile, smile." And she's telling Layla to enjoy the moment. And part of that is you watch it and you're like, wow, she can't smile. She's super stressed right now. But I think part of that is just the family saying, enjoy this moment, engulf this moment, and don't let the moment kind of beat you up. And, there was the medical timeout, and there was all that kind of stuff. But, real quick story for you, Joe, I came back into the office after her semifinal win over Sabalenka. And our fellow here, Josh Wiseman, that runs all our tournaments, he says, I found the greatest email. So back in 2010, Layla's family emailed us and basically said, we played a tournament there 6-7 months ago. We had so much fun. We'd like to enter both of our daughters, and it was Layla and her sister, in the under-9 tournament you're holding, which was crazy. And we just wondered if you have space for us and what type of ball the kids will be using. And Josh responded, and they responded. It was kind of a little back and forth. And Josh said to me, he goes, it's funny, you never know how great these young players are going to be. He says, all I remember is Layla's entire family smiled and were happy and so polite the whole weekend. And for those people that have ever played in a tennis tournament, nobody's polite in a tennis tournament. Nobody's nice. It's like cutthroat, even under 9. Everybody wants to crush you like a grape. So to hear those stories that they started out so nice, they're still grounded and so nice. And I think it only means good things for Layla moving forward, that she's just going to have great success and that her family's going to keep her feet on the ground and, make good choices for Layla. And that's really the most important part moving forward for these young professional athletes.
I saw the interview that Mark Masters did with Layla's dad, and that was just amazing. You saw the address to the crowd in New York and how incredibly gracious she was, and heartfelt, and her dad talking about the fact that both of Layla's parents are immigrants that came to Canada, and started a life here in Canada, and they're just so grateful to be Canadian, so happy to be Canadian, and just that whole everything about that just made me think, this is why I am so proud to be Canadian. This is what makes me so proud to be Canadian. This is what it's all about. It's
I,
incredible. Like this is a real gift, right?
I couldn't agree more. And, it just shows you what sport can do. And how we've missed sport through the last 2 years of the pandemic, and the horrible things that has done to the world. But that as sport starts to come back, even I'm not a Mets fan and a Yankees fan. I'm a Homer fan. I'm a Toronto guy. And, you watch the Mets and the Yankees playing, and what that meant to the city of New York to kind of, tell the world, sport is back, and we're back, we're alive, and we're resilient from 9/11. We're resilient from the pandemic. We want to start to kind of get things back to normal. And it's horrible what everybody has been through, but sport will unite. And you talk about Felix or Layla's father. She called him by FaceTime. I think it was after her semifinal win, and she FaceTimed him because he wasn't there in New York. And he was like, "Hey, how you doing?" He goes, "Sorry." He goes, "I was just watching a soccer game. What's going on?" And she was like, just teasing with it, and that's perfect, because he was probably sitting on stand and running around his room,
Oh,
jumping up and down, so biting his nails, and he just keeps her grounded. He treats her like an 18-year-old should be treated. He teases with her a little bit and gives her a hard time, and she just thought it was the greatest thing ever. So that's really what it's about for these young players is, another thing that she did, Joe, she went to the Met Gala, so the big gala down in New York, and she wore a dress, beautiful black and white dress. She looked lovely, but she wore it because back in the day, back many years ago, Venus and Serena Williams wore a black and white dress together to go to some big gala. I think it was the Met Gala as well. So, she knows her history. She respects the history. She talked about Billie Jean King. She made the speech about 9/11. So for a young woman who just turned 19 during the tournament, wow, I'm totally impressed with her respect of history, her respect of people, and her respect of the sport of tennis. So it can only mean good things for her, and in turn, that means great things for Canada.
right. And this, and so who wins the next slam between Bianca and Layla? Who wins the next
Oh,
slam
I,
first?
I think you have to go with Layla at this point in time. Don't tell Bianca I said that, because she and I have had some special handshake moments. But I think right now there's just a little bit more upside to Layla when it comes to confidence. And as we all know in sports, you talk about hockey players squeezing the stick too tight and trying to push for that goal a little bit too much. I think that Layla just has the confidence that she needs. Certainly is feeling, just a little bit more that she belongs right now. I think Bianca has lost her way a little bit when it comes to confidence. I think Bianca too is, right or wrong, she's changing her game a little bit. She's getting away from what made her so good, which is the slice and the dice and the changing of the pace and the drop shots. Look at You saw Layla's drop shot. If you watched that U.S. Open, she is one of the best backhand drop shots I've seen. It's so well disguised; it comes out of nowhere. So, putting me on the spot, I'm going with Layla Fernandez, and I hope I'm right, but I'm hope that I don't hear from Bianca later today at the same time. So, we'll see how that goes.
You know what? If they split the next four Grand Slams, I'll be okay with that.
Yeah, me too. The beauty of the women's game right
Yeah.
now, the beauty of the women's game, and we're starting to see it now in the men's. The men's, you're starting to see it now as on the men's side, is the beauty on the women's game, and the men is right there too. Is that anybody can win? If you're ranked in the top 100 in the world, you can win a slam, you can win a Masters 1000 tournament, you can win an ATP or WTA 500 level event. Those events that are kind of the next tier down, anybody can win them, and that only makes the sport better. We've gone through those years in baseball where the Yankees, without the just keep spending, and they're guaranteed to win. But in tennis right now, it's anybody's game. Medvedev could win. Felix might bust through. Dennis might bust through on the men's side. Dominic Thiem will be coming back. Does Federer have it in him when he comes back from the knee injury? And Nadal is still kicking around with a huge forehand. And The same thing goes on the women's tour. Yes, Layla had a phenomenal U.S. Open and beat all those great players and those high-ranked players that you spoke of. But there's lots of Laylas out there. Unfortunately for us as Canadians, there's lots more out there that might come along as well and take a slam or take a big level tournament.
Yeah, the tennis is really, really competitive right now, and more so on the men's side than it has been. It's nice to see Medvedev break through, who was the guy who beat Felix, so Felix lost to the eventual champion in the semifinals. And I just want to touch on that briefly, the fact that, Felix had such a phenomenal tournament. And of course, Shapovalov had a good tournament as well. And, those two guys are up and coming. I'll put you on the spot again. Who wins the first slam between those two?
Wow, a lot of people will say Felix, and a lot of people in Canada will say that Felix is the better player, has more of an upside to him than Dennis does. The reason I'm going to say Dennis is because Dennis has a little bit more fire in the belly and can kind of just have those flashes of brilliance where, you go off like Lindor the other day and hit 3 home runs in a game. Dennis could go back to
Yeah.
back to back 3, 4, 5 matches in a row, which is what it's going to take to kind of go deep and win a slam. You've got to win 7. I think Dennis has that style where he can get hot. He has a little bit more versatility. He's a little bit stronger around the net. So even though Felix is ranked 11th and Dennis is 12, he's one behind him right now. I think Dennis can be the first one to win a slam over top of Felix, but it could be either one of them. Really, they're that close, and they're so good, Joe, that it might be the two of them playing against each other in the finals of a slam one day, and that. At that point, I'm going to retire from the game of tennis and I'm going to start playing pickleball because I don't think it'll get any better than that.
You will have lived your dream, baby. That was good. Yeah, listen, I want to thank you for being on the show today. It was tremendous, Ken, to catch up with you. And again, like, Shapovalov's been to the Wimbledon semifinals, and Felix has been to the U.S. Open semifinals. Canada is right there knocking on the door. It's going to happen again real soon, and don't be surprised when it does because we're doing things right. It's the maple syrup.
It is the maple syrup, and I'm going to tell you too. We also own the number 1 ranked junior player or college player in the USA in NCAA, Liam Draxel, number 1 NCAA player. So Canada's on the world stage, and we're here to stay, baby. Go tennis, go!
Nice. Where's Liam from, and where's he playing?
He's from Toronto, just north of Toronto, and he plays at Kentucky. His father was a player, Brian Draxel, kicked my butt around the court a few times. He's a couple years younger than me, but Liam is a player. Look for him. You're going to see great things. He's a dynamo. He can hit the ball, and he had a great season at Kentucky, and he's going to play down there for another year or two, and then I think you'll see him full time on the ATP tour.
Right. And Ken, with all those years of scrapping with the marchments and everything else and toughening yourself up, if I'm playing Ken Crosina, I don't want to drop that racket and wristbands real soon and go at it with Ken Crosina. Watch it. Mind your P's and Q's in the tennis court, ladies and gentlemen.
You got it. I can drop the gloves quick, and I'll swear to you in a heartbeat.
All right, buddy. Listen, as a guest on the Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show, we've got some great Italian threads for you from Classic Imports, and so we're going to hook you up with that, Ken. And thanks again for being on the show, and we'll do this again next tournament when Canadians make a run.
I love to do it. I'm a fan of the show, and good to see you, Joe. It's a pleasure. We'll hit the golf course one day too, maybe.
All right, that's good, man. I'm all about that. See you soon. Hi, Joe Tilley here from Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show. Did you know that in 1965, Canada's George Chavella was robbed of the WBA Heavyweight Championship of the World? That's right, Chavella clearly and soundly beat Ernie Terrell for the title at Maple Leaf Gardens, but was denied the championship by a mob-backed decision. The crown should have belonged to George. Now we're trying to get George, who just turned 84 and is suffering from dementia, that well-deserved belt. How can we make this possible? Simple. head over to wbaboxing.com and file your complaint. The more we complain, the more likely it will be that we force the commission to do something about it. Let's do it, folks.
Guests on Joe Tilley Sports receive a gift certificate from Classica Imports. Top of the line imported men's clothing. Check out the Classica Essential Collection now. Go to shopclassica.com. Slow play. It's a slippery slope. First you go looking for that lost ball, and then everything goes sideways. There are a lot of golfers on the course. Make certain of your point of entry, look quickly, and move on. Remember, we're here for a good time, not a long time. Find anything, Bob?
Not yet.
Addiction Rehab Toronto, Toronto's #1 alcohol and drug treatment center, saving lives, reuniting families. The only treatment center in the province to offer medical detox, treatment, sober living, and lifetime aftercare all in one place. Our unique and specialized programs are designed to equip our clients with the tools to successfully lead a life of dignity, respect, and purpose. Let us help save your life or your loved one's life. Call today for more information or to facilitate an intervention. 1-855-787-2424 or visit addictionrehabtoronto.ca. Joe Tilley Sports is brought to you by COSA, Central Ontario Standardbred Association, providing a united voice for harness horse people racing at Ontario tracks. Check out your benefits today at COSAonline.com and check out COSA TV on Facebook and YouTube for all the latest harness news and live action updates. Live racing year-round. Go to hpibet.com for all your wagering options. Become a member today, and your first bet is free. That's hpibet.com.
Time now for my COSA Swiss pick of the week. You know, last week I went to Mohawk for the big race, the $1 million Pepsi North America Cup. Bulldog Hanover, the favorite with Jody Jamieson and Buggy, had been the best in the eliminations. Jody, a guest on the show this last week, took Bulldog Hanover to the front early. Rocky Road Hanover followed him. Perfect Sting, the other limb, made a charge at the three-quarter mark. Desperate Man, who got a terrific trip for Trevor Henry, was on the mission. Here's a call from Ken Middleton.
In those strides, he's a Pepsi North America Cup winner, and he scores in 1:49.3. Desperate Man.
Yes, and it was most of Arthur, Ontario in the winner's circle. Trevor Henry, the driver, trained by Kathy Chikeen, owned by Kathy and John Chikeen, and Nicole and Paul Davies. Desperate Man paid $17.20 to win. The 653 Triactor returned $203 on a $2 ticket. This week, I'm going to Tuesday night's 7th race at Mohawk, and I'll take Chris Christopherou and the number 8 horse Stonebridge Strong, coming off a strong finish and a victory last time out. I'm betting $5 win place, and I'm also going to take a $1 exacta box of 5, 7, and 8. My bankroll is now at $148. For all the racing updates, visit COSA TV on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Go to hpibet.com for your wagering options, and check out the latest stake schedule. Well, the Argos give the Ticats a little bit of payback for that loss in Hamilton on Labor Day. DJ Foster had a lovely 40-yard touchdown run, and the Toronto defense was huge. The Cats thought they had tied it with about a minute to go, but they missed the extra point on a late touchdown, boing, off the upright. The Boat Guys held on to win at 17-16 as they improved to 3-2. The Argos and Rough Riders square off this week, a couple of 3-2 teams. The Cats get the 2-4 Stamps. The 5-1 Bombers are in Edmonton, and the Lions hook up with the Alouettes. Former Canadian boxing champ Colin Fraser passed away this past June. He was 80 years old. Colin was a Hall of Fame boxer and Canadian junior welterweight champion during the years 1967, 68, and 69. He finished his professional career with a record of 32 wins, 11 losses, with 15 knockouts. When Colin passed away on June 19th at his long-term care home, he left behind a treasure trove of very rare and valuable boxing memorabilia for his children, Kevin Colin Jr. and Kimberly Cheryl. Sadly, Fraser's boxing memorabilia was taken from his room at his long-term care facility at Cawthra Gardens in Mississauga. The family is now reaching out in an effort to get their beloved father's memorabilia back. His entire belongings were not given to the family as he received nothing from Chartwell or Cawthra Gardens. He had personal boxing items autographed by his friend George Chavella. Muhammad Ali also signed fight pick of Sonny Liston. Fraser boxed on the undercard of the March 29, 1966 World Heavyweight title fight between Chavella and Ali at the Gardens, yes. And anyone with any information regarding these stolen items, please contact the Peel Police, or you can call his daughter, Kim Cheryl Fraser, at 647-703-5474. Hockey Helps the Homeless is your chance to play with the pros for a great cause. Enter your team today. That's our charity of choice here on Joe Tilley's Great Canadian Sports Show. Enter your team today or visit as an individual at hockeyhelpsthehomeless.com. Suit up, skate, and score with some all-time NHL greats at various locations across the country. Feed the hungry, help them back on their feet, help keep young folks off the street. There are 14 tournaments nationwide. October 29th is the first stop in Waterloo. Then it's Calgary, York Region, Halifax, Vancouver, Winnipeg, Peel, Barrie, Saskatoon, Montreal, Durham Region, Bay Street, Edmonton, and London. This event has helped raise $2.5 million for those who really need it. Once again, it's hockeyhelpsthehomeless.com. And we close with a look at the folks who make this show possible. These are friends, trusted business associates, and all-around great folks. I highly recommend them all. A reminder that the show is now also available on Spotify, Breaker, Radio Public, Google Podcast, and Pocket Cast, as well as the Spanglish Network and Zingo TV. Thanks once again to Ken Crosina for being on the program. And join us next week when Ron Fellows, that great Canadian road racing legend, drops by. We'll see you then.
Brian Gribben Insurance Planning, helping you solidify your financial future.
At BGIP, what we do that's unique in the marketplace is we show people how to spend and enjoy their money in their early years of retirement without the fear of running out. Also, we're able to do this without you having to change financial advisors. Please look us up at bgip.ca today, and let's book a 30-minute phone call to see how we can bring value to you and your family in your planning.
Call Brian today for all your retirement needs. We did. 905-686-5678. Brought to you by MNP, a leading Canadian national accounting, tax, and business consulting firm. MNP proudly serves and responds to the needs of our clients in the private, public, and non-for-profit sectors. Through partner-led engagements, MNP provides a collaborative, cost-effective approach to doing business and personalized strategies to help people and organizations succeed across the country and around the world. With local offices in Oshawa, Toronto, Mississauga, Burlington, and more, our team is here to support you. Visit mnp.ca to learn more. Make your next getaway a spectacular one at this luxury cottage on Rice Lake near Bewdley from Verona Real Estate Group. Perfect for a large or extended family retreat, an ideal location for any corporate morale-boosting getaway, employee bonding session. A week here and you're set. A beautiful, spacious building for up to 10 guests, featuring 5 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, state-of-the-art kitchen facilities, and more. Enjoy swimming, excellent fishing options, just an hour and a half from Toronto. Book for any and all seasons. Fully winterized, ice fishing, cross-country ski trails, and downhill skiing available nearby. Book today by calling Amir at 647-657-6571 or email amir@veronarealestategroup.com.